If you're going somewhere like Colorado, for example, you can go hiking, you can go to a lot of different national parks for very cheap, $10 to get in, or for free. So if you can do stuff like that, and you're not going to 5-star restaurants all the time, then it's actually pretty doable. What's up, guys? Welcome to the On Track with Annie podcast. Make sure before we get into this episode to hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, and go ahead and leave a rating and review. It really helps us out. So today's podcast, we're going to be talking about how to travel on a budget. I've been traveling a lot lately, and I always get this question, like, how do you have money to travel, or how do you travel so much, and how can you make it cheap and something you can do often? So I kind of want to get into that because there's a few things that you can do. And let's start from the beginning. So I just got back from a trip. I was in Denver, Colorado. I was actually collaborating with the Four Seasons Hotel, which was really fun. And then I flew to Seattle because I was doing a photo shoot campaign with Lululemon, which was so much fun and super exciting. And then flew to Miami, stayed there for a night, and then came back. So it was a journey, but it was a lot of fun. And then about a month ago, 2 months ago, I was in Europe. So that was a good time as well. So number one, I think, is flights. So I somehow, when I go to somewhere like Colorado, I always will look at the airports around me. So there's West Palm Beach, there's Fort Lauderdale, there's Miami. Fort Lauderdale, for some reason, to Denver, I can find like $90 flights. Some of them are on Spirit, but for me, it doesn't really matter if it's a short weekend trip. I can always fit something in like a huge backpack. And then underneath my coat, I'll put a pillowcase. So I'll stuff the pillowcase with like workout stuff, sports bras, spandex, underwear. And then I'll put like my big coat over the pillowcase. So it looks like I'm just holding the coat in my arm. Underneath is basically a full laundry basket of stuff. So that's one way to travel on Spirit for cheap and just bring something that you need for the weekend. But number one is flights. You can definitely find cheap flights. You just have to keep looking. And obviously certain times of the year when you go certain places, it's going to be way more expensive. Like for example, going to Milan, I got a ticket for $450 round trip because it was October, but I looked at the same thing in July and it was like $1,600. So you just got to find the places that are kind of more inexpensive to fly to. Then you could rent a car and you could drive, to where you want to go. And it's even renting a car is cheap. When I went to Colorado this last time, it was, I think for 4 days, it was $120 total for the car rental. And it was a RAV4 decent car. So you can definitely find really good deals if you keep looking and paying attention to that. But I think number one is finding a good flight. If you're not flying first class, it shouldn't be that challenging. So that's the first thing. The second thing is hotels. So what I always do, and I know a lot of people like maybe are not on social media, but if I'm going somewhere, typically, like I've worked with hotels in the past when they reach out to me, but I'll reach out to hotels or Airbnb and I'll be like, hey, I'm coming to this area. Are you interested in doing a collaboration or partnering together in exchange for content and kind of like advertising your location and your rooms and the amenities and things that you can do. And I've worked with, I don't know, maybe like 10 hotels at this point because of doing that. And it's worked really well. And then once you partner with a hotel, typically you can reach out to them again if you do a great job and they're like, we would love to host you again. And it's usually they'll give you like 2 or 3 nights for free. They'll comp that and then you just post. So that's one option. If you guys are on social media, there's a lot of hotels that work with influencers or work with any type of content creators, and they're willing to partner with you because they need content as well. They need stuff to post and they want people to, show they're having fun in their facilities. So that's one way. The other thing is finding like a super cheap Airbnb. You can do hostels if you'd like to do that, but Airbnbs are typically more inexpensive than hotels, not all the time, but you can always find really cheap ones. Even there's like tiny homes that you can rent, which are actually kind of cool. You can camp if you want to go camping. If you're going to a mountain range like Montana, we camped over there. It was actually beautiful, not bad. You can go with friends and split the cost of the rooms or the Airbnbs. That's one way to go about it. And then transportation, obviously, if you can take public transportation while you're there, that's a great way to go about it. Ubers get very expensive. So if you can find, different trains and things like that, it's really not that bad. It sounds like it's more time consuming, I will say, but I would definitely go for that. Renting like one of those little scooters. I did that a few times when I was in Europe and that was a lot of fun. Getting a bike, something like that is definitely a lot cheaper. And then the other thing is like food and drinks. Obviously, when you can cook for yourself, do that, but find places that are not too expensive, easy on the budget. Share something with people. But when you can buy something, if you have an Airbnb and you have a kitchen available, I always recommend trying to cook. And then, find activities that are more free. If you're going somewhere like Colorado, for example, you can go hiking. You can go to a lot of different national parks for very cheap, $10 to get in, or for free. So if you can do stuff like that and you're not going to 5-star restaurants all the time, then it's actually pretty doable. So everything like that can be somewhat inexpensive if you can make it that way. It's kind of up to you and what you decide to do. So that's my short and sweet tips for traveling on a budget. I think we covered the basics. Okay. Pretty obvious things, but okay, that's it. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time.